Welcome to the Science of Productivity segment. In each segment, I bring you new or recent research on how to accomplish your goals faster, how to become more productive. In this segment, what I want to do is share shocking research, at least shocking to me, about whether you should have tough conversations over the phone or over video. Many people, including myself, have made the case for video calls as a substitute to in-person meetings as we've gone into the pandemic. The case for this is pretty simple and, up until this point, pretty compelling. Basically, that much of our communication, some say 80%, is nonverbal. And so if you're communicating, particularly in challenging conversations, you'd want to use video so that you could receive and capture all that information that is being communicated nonverbally that you will miss, or at least most of that which you would miss if you're just doing a phone call. Well, I should have seen the first cracks in this theory when I read Malcolm Gladwell's newest book called Talking to Strangers. In it, he describes the prevalence of what he calls transparency failure, which is basically the idea that we think we can accurately read other people, but rarely do we do so. The quintessential example of this is a New York City bail judge named Solomon, who believes that he needs to see defendants and look into their eyes in order to make an accurate determination of whether they should be released to parole or go back to jail. The only problem is that a computer-based model outperforms Solomon and his peers by 25% without any of the information that they receive in those hearings. So what's going on here? Actually, more information led to worse decisions. Well, this finding is supported by research by Michael Koss from Yale University, who did 5 experiments where he had participants communicate through one of 3 different modes: voice only, video only with no voice, or voice and video combined. And what he found across all of these experiments is that those who were communicating via voice only scored higher on what psychologists call emphatic accuracy, which is the ability to read and judge other people's emotions, their thoughts, and their feelings. How is this true? Well, Koss explains this in 2 ways. One, he says that we often think that certain nonverbal cues, so looking down or grimacing, are associated and directly linked to certain emotions or feelings. And the reality is that that is not always true, and that people are quite good at actually using and disguising their nonverbal cues and not linking them to their emotions. Secondly, it has to do with focus. What Koss says is that those who just were in the voice-only experiment were able to focus more on linguistic cues and vocal cues. And so when we have more information, it actually overwhelms us and we lose sight of the most important information and the most accurate information. This doesn't mean that you should go out and cancel your Zoom account, but it does mean that you should think before turning on that video in every conversation, particularly hard conversations, whether or not you need to do video during this time. Thanks for listening to this segment of Science of Productivity.